Kanan Gill.
Yes,
Good
Anuradha
afternoon.
Menon.
You know, whenever they say Anuradha, I get really scared. Only the teachers in school used to call me Anuradha, only when I was in trouble. Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for coming. Give yourselves a round of applause for being out. We can see it's not going through all the way till the back. People in the back are not applauding. Because
Hi,
they feel
people in the back. We see you.
you are in your heart, our hearts, if not our visual field.
Kanan Gill,
Anuradha.
you are an engineer,
Yes.
a pretentious movie reviewer,
Very true.
a stand-up comedian,
Correct.
an actor.
Yes.
And now this is your new avatar as author of Acts of God.
Yes.
Are you enjoying this?
Very much.
It's a very succinct answer.
I wanted to be a writer first, and it took this much time for me to feel like I had enough confidence to publish a book of this length. And I started writing my first book when I was 15, and I think anything of this scale quickly spirals out of control. I mean, it falls out of your hand pretty fast. And so it was like, if you can imagine a training montage from age 15 to age 30 when I started writing this book, that's what happened. It was just me convincing myself and building the skills it took to write a novel worth printing.
But did you always have a book in you, and did you have this book in you particularly?
I've had many books in me, and this is, I mean, no innuendo. For people who paused for comedic effect. I've had many books in me, but this one came when it was when it wanted to be written. The inception of the book takes place in a short story I wrote in 2016, which I discovered again when I was 30. And the final form of the book bears no resemblance to that short story, but still it's enough. So that was the seed of the idea was in 2016 or 17.
Okay, so when did you say, okay, this is the origin story. I'm going to now like put my foot down, like pedal the metal, and now I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to win the Booker next year, like that.
100% I will win, not the international Booker. Okay, lame. The real Booker. Yes, offense. Oh, hi. This
Oru Pune kutti vannu. Hello, Pune.
Our third panelist, Billu, the Billy.
The
Billu
cat
represents.
also wants to be reviewed. It's an
The
act
Booker.
of God herself.
Is it auspicious or inauspicious?
I'm not going to say it's not a black cat that went past us, so it's fine.
Okay, great. So wait, yeah. So I was saying what? Yeah, the inception
The
of the
origin
book.
story, yes.
Yes, took place in a short story. I to convince, have written before. I used to have a blog when I was in college, which was my first way of communicating with an audience I didn't know, and it was reasonably popular with 7 or 8 people. And but every time I tried to write anything longer than, let's say, 10,000 words, it just seemed like an impossible task. And so I took it upon myself to write short stories until I felt I was ready. And this is a bit of advice I got from Ray Bradbury, not in person, he's dead. But Ray Bradbury has great advice to give to authors, and all my heroes are people who've enjoyed a career in the arts. So he said, write a short story every day. Every week. And he said, I defy you to write 52 bad ones, is his advice. And because I'm insane, I said, okay, I'll write 2 every day. And I'll make sure they're all bad. And it took a lot of pressure off. So before starting every day for several years, I would write 1,000 words, and then begin my day. And all of those stories, most of them are pure trash. But it was just building the grooves in my brain to have some evidence of my skill put before me as a writer. And one of those stories I randomly picked up, I was just scouring my hard drive over these many, many things. Many of them were actually bad, like I thought. Many of them were actually surprisingly good. And maybe the prose wasn't there or the form wasn't there, but the seed of the idea was there. And I found one such story, which I was like, okay, there's something here.
But you always knew you wanted to start with a novel, not like a bunch of short stories,
Yes.
test the waters.
There is this idea of a book that a stand-up comic writes, okay, which is why I'm going to all these lit fests, to take the idea out of people's mind. Okay, so when you talk to a publisher, they're like, okay, you're a comic, so you want to write a witty witticisms about your life. These are the opinions you have about several subjects, and it will be short, easy to read, simple language. Give us 10, we'll publish it, 10,000 copies, bestseller. We make money, you don't make any money, everybody wins. However, I wanted to write, I'm taken by the process of writing a book. That's what the book is about. It's not about the cash, because
You're not going to earn millions and buy a house in the Hamptons now, Kanan.
if someone buys the film rights, then yes. But until then, no way. I will break down the economic model of this for anyone who's interested, but it's a sad story. Yeah, so however, I like the process of writing, and I like the idea of giving birth in some respect to a book. And the idea of the process of writing fiction is very liberating in the way that stand-up, my main job, is constraining. So all of those things really propel me towards writing. And I've already written 2 other books. This is just the first one to come out. So, yeah.
Is there a sequel to this one? Or they're completely
No, they're
different
completely
genres?
unrelated. But when those do... By the way, has anyone bought this book yet by round of applause? Okay, all right.
Have you
yes.
started reading this book yet?
Thank you, Suresh. You read the back page.
Ah,
Yeah.
well played. She's one of those, Kanan. Yeah.
Never read the blurb.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, so what I was saying. Yeah, process of writing a book, very exciting. Cat is...
Making friends already. Far more social.
networking
Yeah.
to the cat's own ends. But yeah,
Now, you cover a range of genres in this book, right?
Yes.
You go from this comedic science fiction, like a dystopian, utopian world. There are talking walls. There's a mystery. There's a human story in all of this. Did you have a clear idea of where this was going, or did it reveal itself as you kept writing?
fully revealed itself as I kept writing. There's 2 popular methods of writing long form. There's the architect and gardener method. And you guys know, but like just in brief, architects plot out everything, and they have a beat sheet, and they have a character graph, and they just basically fill in the blanks as they go on, because they know exactly what's going to happen in the novel before they begin. The gardener method is planting a seed and seeing what blossoms. And I had written a book before this using the architect method, and it was fine. It's like when you write a screenplay. You need to plot out every single beat of the movie before you begin writing the movie. Because in movies, specific things have to happen at very specific times for the audience to not physically retch and take something akin to enjoyment from the movie. However, when I did that for a novel, I found it, I was kind of deflated when it came to actually writing the book, because I felt like I'd written the book before I wrote the book. I knew all the beats, and I knew all the characters and stuff. So for this, I began with the seed of the idea, which I wanted it to be a cat and mouse game between creator and created. And I had this one character of a sort of absurd, inexplicable detective called P. Manjunath from Bangalore. And I wanted to see how this person, who appears to have no skill as a detective or ability, and behaves entirely irrationally, could potentially be a worthy adversary for someone who had the powers of an entire god. So starting with that, I ran with it. And I ran until the finish line. Thank goodness. Yeah.
You write at the end that you thanked your mom for filling the house with books.
Yes.
So you were a voracious reader. But I want to know if, like, you were a fan of Isaac Asimov. Did you read science fiction much growing up? Were there some literary figures you thought, oh, I want to do that, and one day I will?
I only read sci-fi closer to being in college and stuff. Until then, I had only read... Well, as a kid, we all read the cursory Enid Blyton's. Everybody has read Mallory Towers, and shame on you if you haven't. Far better than the twins, I would say. But Mallory Towers, #1, supremacy.
Better than Sinclair's?
Way better than
Oh,
St.
no.
Clair's.
I
What
was
are you
Sinclair's
saying?
girl.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
There was no Gwendolyn in St. Clair's. Gwendolyn who was conceited and brushed her head 100 times every night before bed.
But did it really upset you that Enid Blyton did not like children?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
I think only a contempt for children can create so many children's books.
that's true.
If you want children to be happy...
Contempt for children can make you create a child also. I'm not speaking about me, stop it.
And this is a theme of creation explored in my novel, Acts of God. Yeah, but I read far more lit fic before I read sci-fi, and I still read more lit fic than I do sci-fi. So sci-fi heroes are obviously Douglas Adams. I mean, nobody writes farcical sci-fi better. But writing that kind of novel is extremely challenging. In Hitchhikers, the characters have no growth. There are 4 books. Nobody changes. Everyone speaks exactly the same way. All the characters are exactly, you can read 500 pages and Arthur Dent has 5 minutes of character development towards the end and it's disgusting to read. You don't want it to happen. Because every single situation is so captivating that if the characters grew, the novel would be unsustainable. I always set out trying to write something like that and quickly realize it is beyond my ability and end up telling the human story, which is what happened with this.
Okay, so
Should we talk about what the novel is about for a bit?
Yes, yes.
For
I
the
think you
many
should.
people who are not here?
I think you should.
Yes. You want to take the let me read. Okay. Like I said before, dare I sit on this couch?
No, please,
Okay, fine.
Please.
The novel is a cat and mouse game between creator and created. Bungling Detective P. Manjunath witnesses many strange events taking place across the globe and sets off on a journey with his trusty assistant, Heng, to investigate these occurrences that are happening internationally. No one has asked him to do this. This is his pure instinct that is taking him across the world. And while doing this, he is invariably stopping the master plan of someone who, unbeknownst to them, is the creator of their world. Now, why they are able to do this, what their role in this world is, and why the person, the creator of their world, is doing what he's doing, is the backdrop through which the novel takes place. And if I may be a little arrogant, if I may be a little conceited, I would like to advertise that this novel, like many novels, is about the experience of reading the novel far more than it is the physical, actual plot of the novel. In my head, at least, I segregate novels into two buckets. There is the prose novel, which is full of like beautiful, beautiful language, but is a miserable story, almost without exception. It's just sad people being sad for 250 pages. And if you were to sell someone on the plot of a very literary, significant novel, the plot is not what convinces you. It's the experience of reading the book. If you were to sell someone on a detective book, and if in a Agatha Christie novel, she spends a lot of time describing trees, you'd be like, you shut the fuck up and tell me how he died. And because I sort novels in these two buckets for myself, I have tried to achieve a synthesis. Readers will tell me to what degree I have succeeded, but because the novel's only been out for 7 days. But with that caveat, I would like to advertise the experience of reading the novel as the benefit of the novel, rather than trying to catch you on the plot. Okay.
Would you like to read something?
I would love to read something.
Yes. This is my copy. Handle it with care.
When did you receive this copy, Anuradha Menon?
Too late, Kanan.
I will begin with reading the first thing that came to me for this book. Okay, I used to walk around Bangalore city and open my mind and receive sentences, and it was a bizarre, almost fugue adjacent state where I was really being overcome with ideas, and I was waiting for the correct time to start this novel. The correct time to start this novel when this page fully formed came into my mind. It also sets the tone and your expectation for the kind of novel this is. Storage instructions for this book. Store this book in a cool, dry place. Alternatively, you could toss it into some hot, humid hell, string its pages on a clothesline, or crack its spine over your knee if you feel violent. Punch this book in its book mouth. How could it say that? Grab it by its jacket collar and demand more. Grab it by its feet and shake the hidden words out of its pockets. Or if you'd rather love, then love this book with all your might. Take it on. Trace your fingertips gently over its jacket, literally, digitally, and spiritually. Take this book on a world tour. Hurl it from a train window. Spring its pages open like a flip book and smell that strange book smell that comes from the salty mixture of ink and sweat and paper. The bouquet of a story? Is it the smell of acceptance, rejection, writing, rewriting, editing, fretting, forgetting? Is it the smell of your own soul? Or perhaps the funky odor of a good book gone bad. Have you left this novel unread for too long? And its contents have now soured? Are they sulking? Have the words gathered in hard-to-read corners demanding to be teased out? Best to junk it then. Stories past their expiry date cause indigestion, nervousness, and the rapid precipitation of strong opinions. Best to keep it back where you picked it up. The ideal place to store this book is in a shining bubble of possibility. It could be great, it could be terrible, full of poor syntax, sleazy semicolons, and missing punctuation. It could be many things, but I guess we'll never know. Smells like Anuradha Menon.
Yeah. No, but I always get asked, is it Anupama, Anuradha, or Anugraha?
It's just Anu.
I just want to keep changing it up, you know? Just to keep it fresh for myself.
Who is Anugraha Menon? And what time is her Bharatanatyam recital?
I did study Bharatanatyam and Carnatic music before I realized I don't have talent for either.
And she's going to give us a quick snippet of some Carnatic music right now. Take it away.
Yeah. So now, Kanan,
Yes.
in this existential phase of your life. So now in your stand-up special, is this it? Your constant refrain is, give up on your dreams, death is coming, let's party. And on page 35 of this book, and I've underlined this, it says, when you can't trust reality, when whatever happens for no reason, whenever, what's the point of doing anything?
Yeah.
So is this, when did this existential crisis begin? Of what is the meaning of life and this nihilistic phase of yours?
It's not a nihilistic phase by any means. Is it nihilistic or nihilistic?
Either way, it won't take offense.
Okay.
Because what's the meaning of offense
What's
anyway?
the meaning of nihilistic anyway? Yeah. It's not nihilism by any means. It's closest to optimistic nihilism, if anything. If nothing has any meaning, then might as well enjoy life. However, I think whenever people ask, like, what's with these the strong existential themes in everything you do, I always ask, like, how could you not be existential? And being existential is not despairing. It's just wondering if there's anything behind the curtain you are not privy to. It's my great complaint with modern society is that at least the goal of enlightenment has fallen off the map of human ambition for some reason. It used to be kind of our main thing as a society, especially in the East, where all everybody wanted was to transcend all our mortal underpinnings and gain access to the immortal soul, or whatever your theology says that lies underneath. And I feel like if you have been fortunate, very fortunate, or have experienced a lot of misfortune, there is a curiosity that tends to come up about not what is the meaning of all this, but is life what it seems to be? I think is the correct question that I am answering.
And it's answered by Instagram. It is exactly how it seems
to be. A series of 120-second reels. But yeah, I think that answer, people have been trying to answer the same question for thousands of years. And I think that is what makes it a very pressing question. Why is there suffering? Is there freedom from suffering possible? What is the cause of suffering? What is the end of suffering? And trying to solve that in stand-up, or trying to address that in stand-up, I came up with give up your dreams, death is coming, let's party. And because stand-up also comes with its constraints of having to be funny consistently, to be identifiable as stand-up. In the novel, where I can stretch out a little more, I begin with that, but the story tries to broach many answers to the same question, which I hope will collide with your own understanding of the world. And in your furious emails, we can perhaps arrive at some synthesis and become enlightened.
What was the toughest part of this writing process, vis-a-vis writing stand-up and now writing this novel?
Publishing. Yeah. Publishing is easily the hardest part of writing. Writing it, honestly, this is my first novel, but I have been in the entertainment business for 11 years now. And that forces you to examine exactly what do you want from this. Now that you are a big public person, especially if you do something as absurd as being on stage regularly and receiving this adulation, which means that it's going well. Like, if people are applauding at your presence, means that you are a competent stand-up comedian, right? It's not actual love, is what many comedians need to know.
What is love, Kanan?
Baby, don't hurt me. Anyway, so it's because I had to identify and separate my need to create and need for prominence. I had to investigate what is the goal of writing the book. And the goal of writing book, or of any book, should be the process of writing the book. My fun with the book is coming up with the book. After that, and now my fun is over. This is entirely your fun or despair to be had. And so no part of the book was tough. It was a very joyous experience. And because I, in a very real sense, made it up as I went along, I am also the first reader of this novel. Yeah. So every day when I sat down to write, I got to see what would happen. And I got to see how they're going to get themselves out of this mess. Like yesterday, I said, and then they were all there and they're in a corner. Okay, bye. I'm going to have lunch. That's tomorrow Kanan's problem. And tomorrow Kanan has to pick it up. I'm like, oh shit, dude. And seeing that is a very exciting process. I'm not to say that it's not frustrating on some days, but I think if you want to have a sustained career in this biz, as you very well know, you need some reliable mechanism to counteract blocks or frustration. Yeah.
Did you like? What is the end game?
We've
now?
lost our first viewer. Oh no, we haven't.
Gone. Where are you going, ma'am? Kanan will cry, ma'am. Cry. Do you want a tissue? Sanitizer?
Just tear a page from my novel.
But what is the end game for Kanan Gill here? Is there...
Death.
Yeah, that's the name of the sequel. Okay. Death is coming. What is... Do you feel like, oh, something will happen and now I know I've arrived? What is the sign? Is it Manish Malhotra saying, Kanan Gill, wear me? Is it Ori? Huh? Publishing your next book or inaugurating it because he's such a liver. Like, what is the end game here, Kanan Gill?
No, the end game was when I got the book into people, like when it's published and available for people to buy, end game. If I have an aspiration for the book, it was only for my first novel to be taken seriously as a real novel. That's it. I think it's very easy to dismiss things that come from non-literary sources, in a sense.
Yes.
And so that dismissal is very easy. So in earnest, I just want my first novel to... you don't have to like it. Many of you will, but many of you won't. That's none of my business. That's your problem. You don't want to enjoy your life? That's your... You can't see genius. I just want the book to be given a fair chance. And if it's done that, whatever the outcome, I'm fine with it. Because subsequent novel I can write. I just wanted to enter the literary establishment in earnest, which is why I'm at every lit fest.
Do you feel you've been harder on yourself because you wanted to be taken more seriously in the writing space? So, like deliberately trying to move away from your style of stand-up in terms of writing this book. Were you happy with the end product? Do you read the stuff and think, hey, Kanan, you did good. Or, oh, I should have changed that. Like, oh, that doesn't sound so good. The semicolon is in the wrong place. Like, stuff like that.
I did 7 drafts of this novel, although only one major rewrite. But at the whole time, I am extremely proud of it. And that only comes from actually doing this for so long, is having evidence of your ability and then not having to second guess whether you are indeed a fraud. After all this time, you're like, oh, fuck, I was the fraud the whole time. And you are not an imposter. So I have no qualms or complaints for the book. I had one interesting thought. Genuinely, I thought this, okay, I know. When I was going to these events, I was like, who should I be? What do people expect a writer to look and sound like? It was a concern that I had for some time. Because when I'm in stand-up, that's completely under my control. I do stand-up. I can make things funny. I had some foreboding about... See, when you watch panels of very literate people, they're very articulate and well-spoken and deliberate and meditative, and they take very long pauses to give answers. They say stuff like, that's an interesting question, and give an unrelated answer. And all in all, very boring. And so I was like, is that what people expect a real writer to look and sound like? And so should I do that? And should I just be very silly like I would normally do if I was promoting a stand-up special? And I would be playing that up as well. And I finally arrived at just trying to be authentic and seeing, I think my true self is somewhere between those extremes of not entirely boring, but not entirely serious either. And so 3 lit fests in, it's going fine. Jury's still out. I'm yet to receive the Instagram message of like, bro, not funny, even one? Why like that?
But this whole process has been more, been less, been more or less what you expected it to be?
Which part?
The writing process and the promoting process.
Yeah. It's been more or less. I think writing was, this one was very freeing. So it was the first access to like, okay, if I can do this, I can do this forever. If writing is like this, I can do this for a long time. The promotion process, I don't do for anything. So this is new for me. Every time, even if I know a Netflix special, I don't promote it. Because I was arrogant enough to think like, come, how much am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to tour with this also, I'm supposed to record this also, I'm supposed to release this also. Then I have to convince everybody to think also. Yeah, but because I'm entering a new space, I thought it's my responsibility to give this book a fighting chance by showing everywhere with it and then signing everybody's copies. And because more than anything, I'm genuinely curious about what people will say about it to me.
But what have your friends and family's reaction been? Have they been like critical? Have they been kind? Have they been like, wow, wow, what a wow, what a wow, wow? Like,
my friends, I only gave it to my friends who read, so 2 of them. And both of them liked it. My mom, who is a very honest critic, are we going to ignore this drone?
I thought it was some Swiggy delivery for you. I was like, wow, they're really upping their tech here. Did you ask for a coffee?
Drone pilot, you should really know the volume of this drone. Yeah.
But were you just playing or?
No, I mean, it would be a great shot.
Yeah.
Until we said, is anyone going to ignore this drone?
You should have put the book at least on that, no, and delivered it like that.
Yeah, the first one, my mom gave the feedback that I've got from some people for the first draft. I gave her the first draft. So she was like, and my mom reads like 2 books a day. She really reads an extraordinary amount. She was like, it's too dense, yeah, I can't read. And I was like, I'm your son, but.
You're also too dense, yeah.
Just like you, this novel is too dense.
Yeah.
So I had to take that feedback into account and make many quality of life revisions. But it is dense in parts. But that's how some things are.
No, but what Kanan said was a very important point, that the first 4 chapters, a lot of information coming at you, and then you're on board and you understand everything, and a school read after that. But yes.
Because I found this out at Kerala Lit Fest.
It is true.
When the panelists told me,
of course you found it out at Kerala Lit Fest. They have opinions with 100% literacy. What do you think? It was going to be a
very,
breeze?
very, very strong opinions. And yeah, so then people tell me, very honestly, really enjoyed the novel. Had to really power through 1 chapter. And I was like, okay, respect. I will take that feedback, not change anything, but your feedback is taken. Because my publisher gave the same feedback. And I was like, get lost.
I was waiting for a publisher, and I'm like, get lost.
Get lost, yes.
How close are you with your editor? Are you fast friends now? Because you must have been in touch constantly, right? In terms of...
No.
No? Not at all? Okay.
Not at all.
It's not a friendly person.
I've had 2 editors during the process of this book. Was one person who's now at the Hindu.
Is partying.
Passed the baton on to the second editor. But because we were in such a time crunch, because everything had been delayed, it was just like, these are the changes, and I would quickly make the changes. I'm like, okay, what do you think? Okay, second round of changes, and I would quickly make the changes. Like, okay, what do you think? That's it. Done. No arguing, no haranguing, no like... I had enough distance. I finished this novel in Jan 21, so I had enough distance from it now, doing revisions last year, to not be precious about parts that they were like, this is too dense, and I was like, correct. And I thinned something out, and some stuff that I was attached to, I was like, no, that's staying in. And I'm pretty sure the publisher was right in some respects, but I'm pretty sure I was also right in some respects. So I don't think editing process is not a friendly process. Maybe if we meet outside of the editing process, we'll become fast friends.
Do you want to read one more passage, and then I'll continue with my next?
Okay, reading opening of chapter 2. People who have books in the audience, please you do not need to read along. Suresh, looking at you. We have a lot of trauma from our education system, where you feel like I'm going to quiz you at any point. Suresh, please stand up and read pages 5 to 8.
Suresh is only concerned about the revenue from your book, nothing else.
Revenue from the book is strong. We have sold, I think, up 10,000 copies already. We're doing well. Okay. All right, this is the opening of chapter 2. Amongst other things, the story is about pain. Most things are about pain, but it can be hard to tell. Despite its dominant role in global politics, pain keeps its name out of the papers. Pain is the shadow cabal that controls the world. Pain is the axle grease for Earth's rotation. Pain is the pendulum and the bong of the doomsday clock. Tick-tock. Unlikely headline. Leader advocates increasing military spending because he is in pain. The establishment of the no pain, no gain orthodoxy ensured the integration of pain into the capitalist ethic, whereas some other economic structures ended up with no gain and only pain. Economists will tell you this anomaly is gain's own fault, and sociologists will tell you that they are in pain. In this insidious way, pain writes itself into our lives as a necessity, as a backlight through which we see our outlines. Pain shows us our shape, pain defines us and our extremities. How much can you take? How much will you give? So far, this chapter is a pain. That's all I'll read for now. Oh, sorry, Anu.
Told you to give it back. No?
Sorry.
Never learn to share, you know.
I'm sorry.
And I'm the only child. Okay. Were your characters inspired by people that you've met in your life, whether it is like your fumbling, bumbling detective Manjunath, whether it was your category 3 genius category 3 scientist, Dr. Krishna, the arrogance and the hubris that comes with being a genius. So were these people like you've met in your life that sort of you drew from?
Nothing is that I've made no conscious effort to mirror any characters or transpose any part of myself in any character. Yet it has happened subconsciously. Not for people I know, but people who know me well will point out like this person who says this thing or this person who does this action is doing something exactly what you would do, which is another incredible part about if you are considering writing a novel, please write it. Because what I found to be very interesting now, having distance from the novel, is you will see these poor characters being forced to process emotions that I refuse to. As a person, I have created these situations for these people to suffer and transcend their problems so that I won't have to. And by no means is this a conscious process. Only with distance from it, and I was like, okay, I know what this is because it's personal to my life. But in a very real way, it's become a snapshot of what I was going through at the time when I wrote the novel. So no conscious, but subconscious leakage has been immense.
Would you like to see what you've written turn into a movie, something on the big screen? Is that something that you think about, thought about, wish for?
I would love for nothing more than someone to buy the film rights and do whatever they want. I will never write the screenplay because my tryst with this novel is over. And this novel is impossible to adapt into a screenplay in my regards. However, yeah, just buy the film rights. If anyone here is a big-time producer who wants to buy the film rights, I am available after at the book signing to sell you the film rights. But movie, I don't know. Can you think off the top of your head 3 good book to movie adaptations?
I would say go to Korea. I think this will do really well.
In Korea?
They're very good. Yeah, they're very good with like talking walls and simulating universes and space-time continuum, and they're phenomenal. I'm telling you, K-drama is the way to go. Hang this.
You know, I've seen some K-dramas, but they are typically about
You've seen the loved ones, haven't you?
Yeah, she accidentally parachutes into North Korea and then...
Yeah. No. Crash Landing on You is not the right one.
It's pretty good.
With. Yeah.
I saw another one called Boys Over Flowers.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. I thought it was only...
Lee Min-ho's curly hair, really.
There's a great one called What's Wrong with Secretary Kim. I've seen a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Would not have thought Kanan Gill was a K-drama watcher, but you learn something new every day.
I like to do whatever I watch. I like when I'm usually very tired, so I like to see something completely disconnected from what I do. And so for me, that Korean romantic dramas are the
Kansamida. Okay,
they don't demand much. You just watch and you're like, wow, these people are in love. Good for them.
Karan, what are the kinds of interesting Instagram messages you get? Do you get stuff like, oh, men want to be you, women want to be with you, that sort of thing?
No, I get like, increase your Instagram followers by to 10,000 right now. Provable, not fake. Pay only $4.99 and tomorrow it will happen. Or, sir, you want a collab? I'm a dancer and I feel like we should collab. Yeah, so nothing beyond that. Most recently, people have been sending me pictures of them reading the book, which I really appreciate. Is wild. To see my novel exist in the world is very strange, very bizarre experience.
How is it different from, in a stand-up special says, written and performed by Kanan Gill, vis-a-vis when you see this book and it says, Acts of God by Kanan Gill? Like, what is the difference in just where you're viewing your name?
It doesn't register in both respects. I think you know as well as I do, having your name on the credits of many things. When you see it, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you see other people's names, you're like, oh, wow, good for them. When you see your own name, you're like, yeah, whatever. Nothing, you never arrive in life. Nothing is ever enough. So this is also what is this it is about. Nothing will ever feel like, okay, now I'm really the person that I wanted to be. There is no evidence and you will never get it. So you might as well enjoy the process of doing it. So seeing my name on this book is strange. But I'm never like, yeah, check me out.
Before I throw it open to the audience, I want to talk about this Norwegian film you did called Christmas as Usual, which I really loved and I highly recommend it, by the way. What was that like? Do you enjoy the process of acting?
This time I did.
Because there was a cute blonde, blue-eyed girl that you were acting opposite?
Her fiance was also on set.
Such a killjoy. These tall Scandinavian men.
We were almost the same height, And so I really stood very straight the whole movie. Because I normally slouch, but if I slouched even slightly, I was visibly shorter. Anyway, besides the point, I think it was a very good thrill. I just finished my last stand-up tour and shooting the special. And so it's very nice to act only because it's a very good break from my life. Normally, I always have to tell people, like, let's do this, let's do that. I write it, you stand over there, put the cameras there. And I'm making all the decisions, and they're all very high-value decisions. Like, if I make the wrong decisions, things go badly. So being on a movie set, you make no decisions. They say, wear this. They literally dress you in the morning. They put your makeup on. They put you in the car. They say, go stand there, say this. Cut. Go eat lunch. And it was a huge relief. So a very nice vacation from my life. I'd never been anywhere that cold. I was telling you yesterday, it was minus 20 degrees the most of the time that we Can you conceptualize? It's
not in Chennai, they can't.
That's what. It's minus 20 there right now. And when I was shooting there, I was like, I can't imagine any place being warm. Then my friends from Bombay would put up pictures like, hey, sun. I'd be like, wow. Wow, what these tropical extravagances. But yeah, very nice to have it. I'm very glad that I did it. And people have very nicely pointed out that Kanan was a very natural, very authentic performance. And it's really because I don't know how to act. So I was just being Kanan Gill throughout the movie. And no one had an objection. So.
This is like that acting tip. No, just learn your lines and don't bump into the furniture. Literally that.
Yeah.
But before I throw it to the audience, I want to say that it is a very refreshing read. You've taken risks. You've used really nice words. You've been self-deprecating. You've made fun of the situation and yourself in the process. And you've tried to combine so much, which is genius and madness in equal measure. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
My question was about the cover art of the book, which I found very unique and had nothing to do with the blurb. So I wanted to ask, did you contribute to the cover art? What's the concept behind it?
You want to know or you want the honest answer?
Both.
Okay. I had a list of options that they gave me, and I was like, okay, this one is good. And because I had some of my friends who are designers, and I had them send some copies over, but the publisher didn't like them. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll defer to you on this. You have more experience selling. So they know what it's supposed to look like. So I picked a couple from a catalog they gave me. I said, can we work on this one? So we went back and forth on a little and worked on it. And then 2 weeks before we had to go to print, they said we can't use the bottom half of the image because it belongs to an artist who, for some reason, couldn't pay him. So the last part, at the bottom of the book, if you'll see, there are sand dunes. And there used to be a very nice synthwave grid, which would have been more apropos. But at the very last minute, we had nothing at the bottom of the book over here. So they were like, can we put trees? And I was like, why would you put trees? Because there are trees in the book. And I was like, no. How about you don't put trees? So they were like, okay, dunes? There are dunes in the book. 1 week to publish. So I was like, yeah, put dunes. Synthesis. This is how all creative projects ultimately get made. Every movie I've done is like, oh, shit, that we need a gun. Gun didn't come. Okay, take a knife. You stab him now. You stab him now. Now the scene is you stab him.
You mentioned that writing fiction is very liberating in a way that stand-up is constraining, as opposed to how stand-up is constraining. Is it just the having to be funny bit, or was there something you had to unlearn to progress as an author that you had learned over a decade of being a stand-up that is very different to being a novelist?
Thank you very much. Very interesting question. I applaud you for asking it. There are two different, and I always say, generative mechanisms that give rise to stand-up and the written word. When people start out stand-up, they very often write down their script and they memorize it and they go say it. And when you watch someone who does that, you can tell right away, as an audience member, there is a distance. You're like, I'm not reaching this person in this performance because it is a person reciting a script. In theater also, I'm saying that the challenge is to imbibe the script, right? And comedians are not actors, so they don't know how to do it. You realize the longer you do stand-up is that stand-up has to take form first in the spoken word. When you have an idea, don't write it down. You have to say it out first and explain it to people. And honestly, when your speaking voice and your writing voice are extremely different. So I didn't have to make any conscious effort to separate the two. I write very differently than I do stand-up. And I do stand-up very differently than I talk regularly as a person. So I didn't have to unlearn anything. Some more constraints in stand-up is your speech has to be immediate. We were talking about this yesterday also. And people can't do any processing of your words. They can't think about what you're saying. They have to immediately understand what you're saying. And so because of those constraints, stand-up is how it is. It's also very joyous in that sense because high risk, high reward. You go there, you say it for the first time. If it's good, you get immediate response. Writing a novel the other way is your failures are completely private, so very low risk. No one has to know you wrote a shitty sentence. You can delete it. The downside is it takes 3 years to know whether it's any good. And so no conscious separation. But thank you for your question.
May I just say that in the end of your novel you've written, writing this novel has been a transcendent, transformative experience. It has freed me, and my greatest hope that is in some small way, it has freed you as well.
Yes,
What do you
it
mean
is my greatest hope.
What do you mean by freed us, as opposed to, okay, freed you because you've been carrying the story, now it's out there in the world, you've given birth to it, haha. And for us, why do you think it would free us?
I think... How deeply into this do you want to go? Like,
I mean, we have 7 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay, I am
But they
a
have
huge
questions also.
hippie in several ways, okay? I don't want to expose myself in this way about the nature of my spiritual considerations.
You took one tumble yesterday and hit the light. You've exposed yourself and your vulnerability to us.
That's true.
With physical pain also, Kanan.
Okay, so in my personal life, I am like I was telling you yesterday, a creativity evangelist. Okay, it is my greatest dream that everyone releases their creativity into the world in whatever way they doesn't have to be for the public, but to be free in that sense. To be free in that sense involves a little bit of work you have to do on yourself. Is to stop conflating, like I said before, your need for prominence with your need for creativity. I think those are two very different impulses, and they should be kept separate. Writing this novel, I had to, for once and for all, put all my blocks in the rearview mirror. And the way I did that was by keeping a book at the side while I wrote. But every time I felt blocked or overwhelmed, or I felt doubt or fear, I would turn to this book and start writing down what was happening and what was inhibiting my process. Every time I was like, fuck man, I have no ideas. I was filled with an overwhelming fear response. Like sometimes you have to get up from your chair and walk around because you're so afraid of the text. And the fear really, for me, and I'm assuming for you, because it's the same fear we all share, comes down to okay, I don't have any ideas. Actually, all my ideas are shit. If it's shit, what happens? I'll write them down and it'll be shit. Okay, then what happens? People will read it and they say, this is shit. Then what happens? Then you are shit. Then it's true. Okay, you can trace every doubt, fear, every single inhibition to your process comes from a real terror. And the terror has its base in you seeking value from the reception of your work. And this is very easy for me to say and very difficult to do. That's why I see that's the way in which I freed myself. And I was able to, by accepting my value and the value of others as immutable and not up for constant reevaluation. Okay, your value as a human being, I believe, is constant and doesn't get to be more if you wrote a great book or less if you wrote a shitty one. That's a lot of work I had to do for myself, and I can recognize who I was before and after the process. The process happened during the writing of this book. In that way, I hope for people to, because people can sense freedom. It's the thing that you often dislike a lot in other people. You tend to hate people who are free in ways that you cage yourself. So through this book, not consciously, and at no point am I making any invitations to join my cult. That's next year. In that way, just the display of several risks I have taken within the novel, several risks I have, several ways in which the novel is free and the characters in this novel are free, are messages I wish to transmit to the reader, and if not any direct instruction, just the possibility that you can be free, and if you can, then you really should. Otherwise, what's the point?
Lovely.
That's the freedom.
Anyone else has any questions? Yeah, we have 3
We've
minutes.
lost a lot of people with that answer. Even
Sorry.
Suresh.
No, they were free to leave. You talked about freedom and then he just walked away.
I take it back.
Hi, Kanan.
Hi.
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 Okay. First of all, it's not a book-related question. I haven't got into reading the book yet. When did the nose spin happen?
The nose pin.
Yeah. It
Okay,
looks
people
great.
in the back can't see. I have a nose piercing. I got my nose pierced last year.
Okay. Okay, that's not the question. So basically, so when you do stand-up, right? So most of, I guess, I can call your stand-up existential because I feel like there's a lot of times when I feel really existential and then nobody understands. And then I watch your stand-up and then it's kind of like, okay, he gets me. So do you think that's kind of like helped you process your emotion, or you like, do you avoid it? Is that how it comes out? Or like, how do you link that? And is the nose pin existential?
The nose pin is not existential.
Okay.
It was just a random decision that I made.
Okay.
I honestly believe that you can't control what you make. Ideas arrive and you just transcribe them. You are at best a receptacle for some mysterious ethereal force that is transmitting ideas, because there is no place to stand to invoke an idea. You can't pull an idea out of anywhere. If you deliberately try to write a book about something when you feel like for some reason, that's always like a failed prospect. It never works because people can always smell insincerity. And so if you try to write a book or a special and let it be about whatever it's going to become about, for me, it ends up becoming about this. And I have no explanation or apologies to make in this regard. Do I refuse to process things? I think this is how I probably process them, is having to make something to myself realize what I feel about these things. But good question, thank you.
We have time for one question, please. Just one last question.
Anu, your choice. Okay, you've got the, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Choice has been made, Kanan.
Choice
They were
has been
free
made
to
for
make their
us.
own choices.
There is no free will, Anuradha Menon.
Yeah, hi Kanan.
Hello.
I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Okay, yeah. So we started watching you in pretentious movie reviews. We saw you in stand-up. We saw you in movies. So all pretty visual mediums.
Yes.
You also have a podcast. The Hindu, please sponsor the podcast. What I want to ask is, I've had a skim of your book. I've not read the book. But it is a pretty visual treat. So has your experience with all those other media had an influence in making the book as such?
I would like another bit of feedback after you finish reading the novel. And no, there is no conscious attempt to make anything more or less visual. There's been no force attached to, there are no propellers or there's no fuel in the engine trying to make the novel a certain way. Parts of it are visual. That perhaps is my writing style. These are things that I submit myself to review to tell me the kind of writer I am. And there is no deliberate attempt on my part to be some kind of writer or the other. You're probably correct, having spent so much time in the visual world. It's probably attached to my way of thinking. Yeah, but it's for you to decide, and for you to tell me, and for the Hindu book review to say, amazing novel, very visual, in which case it will be cemented as truth. We have 29 seconds.
One more question, one last question, and then
Question
we'll
and
have to wrap it
answer
up.
gotta be in 24 seconds. 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Kanan.
Hi.
Oh, you used to have a blog called Cheesecake.
That's true.
Yeah, and you had a story about a Secret 7 reunion after 20 years or something.
That's true.
When you did write that, did you imagine that one day you would write a serious work of fiction and publish it?
This is about as serious as that story was. It's the Secret Seven come together after 20 years. They have a reunion. One of them,
You have
most
to
of
change
them,
the names because they're politically incorrect now. Or,
the
He did
Secret
not.
Seven are all politically correct. Yeah. To the extent that Enid Blyton was. Yeah. Yeah, they're all drug addicts now, and one of them can't let go of their mystery hunting past. And a chasm opens in the center of the town in which they live to the truth that there must always be 7. There must always be 7 children that solve mysteries in that town. So silly. But yes, I did imagine. It was my dream at the time also. I would love to write a full-length Secret 7 reunion.